This is Maggie. She's 83 years old. She's been eating carnivore for
She's
65
jacked. Look at
years.
that, how jacked she is. I remember that. Yeah, I remember we did that, yeah, back in, Austin. Yeah, it was fun, yeah.
Right? A lot of people have concerns because there's no long-term studies on the carnivore diet. How do you address that concern? What advice would you give to someone if you had a loved one that was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer?
What your doctor should be saying and why you go to the doctor is, "I'm sick and I don't wanna be sick anymore," right? That's the point, and I am very confident that in many cases, you can put somebody on a carnivore diet, you can make people that are sick healthier. So, as an older athlete, I'm kicking ass. I mean, and I don't want to brag too much, but I have set world records. You can't make America healthy again without Americans that want to get healthy. And, you've got to decide as a person, what am I going to support? Take some of that responsibility on yourself. Be an example for your family. I mean, this is what it's about.
The following is part 4 of a 4-part series with Dr. Shawn Baker on the carnivore diet. Be sure to subscribe and check out the link in the description to watch the other episodes. And also check out Rivero.com and the incredible work Dr. Baker is doing over there. In this video, we're going to show some highlights and some of the top moments from these interviews with Dr. Baker.
Hello and welcome. Carrie here from Healing Humanity, the power of a proper human diet. Today, I'm thankful, grateful, blessed to welcome Dr. Shawn Baker back to the channel. Welcome, Dr. Baker. How's it going?
Carrot's going well. I just polished off a 50-ounce ribeye steak.
Nice.
We got rolling, so I'm feeling good, man. I got all those steak nutrients flowing through my body right now, so I feel good.
That's awesome. You're good to go for like a week.
I think, yeah, and I probably won't have to eat again until tomorrow. I've got these like giant tomahawks in my freezer, and I'm like, sometimes I'm like, I don't want that much. So today I was just like, well, I'll just eat it, and that'll be my only meal. So anyway, I'm good. Yeah, so I mean, I'm a traditional trained physician. My specialty was orthopedic surgery, so I was replacing hips, knees, doing trauma surgery. I spent time at war in Afghanistan as a trauma surgeon. I went through my career, and at some point, I really started with my own journey. I realized my health wasn't where I wanted it to be. I was always an athlete, so I was always exercising. There was no problem with me not doing enough exercise. But I had to play with nutrition, and I went through a series of different dietary experiments over the years, slowly improving. Finally, came across a bunch of crazy people eating nothing but meat, thought it was absolutely nuts, like everybody does. But I did try it, and I was blown away with the results I had. And then since that time, I've sort of shared it with other people. And then I've had, gosh, literally thousands and thousands at this point, people that I've talked to that have experienced very similar to what I have. And as you're part of what you're doing is documenting the tremendous health benefits that people have seen with this. And so back in 2019, I wrote the book, The Carnivore Diet. So heretofore, it really wasn't called carnivore by any significant number of people. It was kind of a few people calling it a zero carb diet. But anyway, so I kind of was the first guy to write the big book. I was the first doctor to publicly sort of embrace this thing in a very big way. Of course, went on Rogan's podcast. Now I've been on there a couple of times. And of course, that's provided a lot of exposure. And so, I mean, yeah, I've been an advocate for carnivore. As I know we'll talk about, started a company called Rivero, where we use, among other things, carnivore diets to help people with disease, which is really, really fun and really cool.
I'm so thankful for what you're doing. Carnivore's really changed my life. As you mentioned, I'm doing this documentary, and I've interviewed so many carnivores now. We've interviewed 45 for the documentary, but hundreds more on the YouTube channel. I always ask people, how'd you hear about carnivore? Where did you find out about carnivore? And you're the top of the list. I saw Dr. Baker on Joe Rogan. I read Dr. Baker's book. It's really incredible. I have this funny little slide I want to show you quick, Dr. Baker. Like 2 weeks ago, we were in Arizona filming for the documentary. We filmed Tammy Peterson, and we held a big meetup at a movie theater because we're filming a movie. It was a movie theater theme. So we had a presentation on carnivore. We were talking about how it's kind of sad that we worship these heroes that are just actors in movies when there's real heroes in the world that are inspiring healing from other people. And so I had this slide I showed people. Here's the first slide. This was, here's a fake hero. Yeah. Mr. Incredible. I'm like, it's cool. It's a great movie, but it's a fake hero. And we give these actors awards and accolades, and there's like real heroes in the world. So this was the second slide, and this got a pretty good reaction from people. So I thought you'd find this funny.
I remember that. Yeah, I remember we did that. Yeah, back in Austin. Yeah, it was fun. Yeah.
Right. Just so you know, you were on a big screen. It was almost an IMAX screen in Arizona. It was pretty cool. But yeah, we were trying to celebrate all of the good doctors out there, yourself included, that are inspiring so much healing. Argument against carnivore diet is a lot of people have concerns because there's no long-term studies on the carnivore diet. How do you address that concern? Hey, there's no long-term studies on carnivore, therefore I'm not going to do it.
Well, I mean, there's no long-term high quality studies on any diet. I mean, there's retrospective observational studies you can look at, but those are really low quality studies. I mean, we can obviously point to historical. We could, there are historical populations which are effectively carnivore. All the circumpolar populations, whether it's the Inuit, the Nene, the Sami. We've got the Nilotic African tribes, the Dinka, the Maasai. You've got rural Mongolian folks for years. You've got people in South America, the whole Gaucho population in southern Brazil and Argentina. You've got Plains Indians, historical accounts. So we have that. I mean, but again, as far as a high quality randomized controlled trial that's going to last 50 years, not going to happen. What we do have is, we now have obviously tons of anecdotal accounts, which, have some limited value. You can't just dismiss them outright because they're anecdotal. We now have case reports, case series have been pushed in the literature now on inflammatory bowel disease, depression, anxiety. We've got anorexia. We've got a couple case reports on various autoimmune conditions. We have another series going to be coming out on multiple sclerosis, another one on psoriasis. And then there's interventional trials, which I am behind the scenes working to get done. I'm working with the state of South Dakota, with some of the cattlemen's groups in South Dakota. I'll be in Oklahoma working with some groups. These are cattle states that it makes sense for them to say, hey, look, this makes sense to fund these studies. Also, Rivero is collecting data on our patients that do carnivore, some form of carnivore, and we'll be publishing our data. So and of course, as we all know, that David Ludwig in 2021 published that study out of Harvard. So we have more and more data coming out there. I mean, there was it's interesting there, and we're seeing the pushback now because people are dismissing the case reports, and yet they're publishing their own case reports. There was just a recent study published by a cardiologist said, I saw a carnivore who had xanthelasma, which is, yellowing of often around the eyes or the skin, and it's associated with high cholesterol. And he said, we had a carnivore guy, he had this, and his total cholesterol was 1,000 milligrams. So it was pretty damn high, right? I mean, even among carnivore, that's quite high. But the interesting thing is, even though you have that yellow deposits in your skin, the data out there indicates that does not increase the risk for heart disease, even with that really, 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 at least that association directly. Now, some people would argue, well, the cholesterol is high, and that's a risk factor. And then we can go back to this whole lipid energy model, lean mass hyperresponder type of thing. But yeah, we're getting more and more data in the literature on that. We're never going to have a long-term RCT. I don't think because that's never happened for any diet. It's just, so all you're going to have is observational associations, and then you're going to have these short to medium term things. What I'm hoping to say, and what I'll say over and over again, if your doctor is telling you he can predict the future, what you're going to die of or how long you're going to live, he's lying to you, right? What your doctor should be saying, and why you go to the doctor, is, I'm sick and I don't want to be sick anymore, right? That's the point. And I am very confident that in many cases, you can put somebody on a carnivore diet or similar to a very close carnivore diet. You can make people that are sick healthier, as we all see over and over again. So I think that's where our focus should be: taking sick people, not making them sick anymore, and stop worrying about making them live forever or pretending we know what's going to prevent these diseases, because we really don't. At least from a nutritional standpoint, I should put that caveat out there. If someone's diabetic, yes, they're more likely to have heart disease. But if they're but saying diet by itself, because first of all the data we have out there, all that food frequency questionnaire data is almost complete garbage. There was a recent study on doubly labeled water that showed that basically when they actually measure how much energy people expend versus what they think they use or eat, it's like off by 50%. So it means it's like, that's how bad that data is. It's 50% of it's wrong.
Those food frequency questionnaires are insane. I do carnivore. I eat like 3 things. I still couldn't even tell you what I ate last week on carnivore. A burger or steak, I don't even know, let alone when I was eating the standard American diet. It's insane to me.
No, you could say, how much red meat did you eat? And I could say I eat that every day.
Yeah.
I could tell you that. But as far as, how many eggs I ate last year, I don't know. I had some. I couldn't tell you exactly.
Right. Physicians that wanted to heal people, that's why they became a physician, and now they're finding a way to do it by treating the root cause. But also, it seems like it's all coming together right now at this point in history where people are just so sick of being sick, and medication after medication and not getting better. It's becoming very frustrating for a lot of people. So
Yeah, Carrie, that game Whack-A-Mole, right? You go to the carnival and there's that. That's what medicine's become. It's like medication Whack-A-Mole. It's like, oh,
yeah,
this symptom, whap, here's this one, and they keep popping up. So by the time you're 60 years old, now you're on 12 medications,
yeah.
and it's insane where we are right now.
That's what drove me nuts too, is when the doctor would say, your depression, Carrie, we don't know what's causing that. Maybe it's a chemical imbalance. We're not sure. However, here's some medication for it. And it's like, wait a minute, you don't even know what's causing this and you're giving me medication.
Right.
And then I would need
Yeah,
medication.
why don't we
for the
figure out
side
why?
effects.
Why don't we figure out why you're sick
Right.
before we try to treat it?
Yeah.
I think that's interesting.
And to your point, all of these 15 medications, every single one of them, depression, anxiety, IBS, gout, sleep issues, every single one of those was nutrition. So there was an answer. It wasn't that we didn't know. It was all 100% nutrition. So anyways, I'm really happy what you're doing with Rivero. I'm happy to shout it out from the rooftops anytime. It's incredible. Like, I wish I would have had something like that 15 years ago when I started down that rabbit hole of nonstop medication for years and years.
Yeah, I would, like I said, as a physician, I wish I had discovered this earlier too. But I mean, yeah, and I think, thankfully we have more people and people like yourself and others who have been so motivated to share this, because this is a grassroots effort. This clearly is. This is something that the only reason we have Make America Healthy Again is because so many people are frustrated with what the current system is. And you can make some changes at the top, but it's got to be bottom too. You can't make America healthy again without Americans that want to get healthy. And you've got to decide as a person, what am I going to support? If I don't think this system is working, maybe support something else. We had a new election, new president, new administration. Make America Healthy Again is at the forefront. But I will tell you guys, don't passively expect that to change your health. You've got to make America healthy again, we need Americans to want to do it and to do the right things. It's not a passive thing. It's a very active thing. And it's just all of us, again, support the things that make us healthy and stop supporting things that don't make us healthy. I think that's important, because just as much of that responsibility is on you. And I mean, it's exciting because you're the master of your own fate in many ways. And so, you have faith that you can do these things. And if you believe in a higher power, that higher power has given you a brain and freedom and free will to make those changes. And so don't depend on everybody else to do it. Take some of that responsibility on yourself. Be an example for your family. I mean, this is what it's about.
That was the biggest thing I've learned filming this documentary from so many different individuals asking them. It's like, this has to be grassroots. You have to be an advocate. You have to take your health into your own two hands. Make America Healthy Again is great to spread awareness, but ultimately it's the individual taking their life into their own hands and making the changes. All right, this is Maggie. She's 83 years old. She's been eating carnivore for 65 years.
Look at how jacked she is.
She's got like triple biceps on the one side there. She's incredible. When we interviewed Maggie for the documentary, she said, people can make fun of me, they can laugh at me, but I believe I'll live to be 120. She said, there's no reason I shouldn't. People are dying much younger because of the foods they're eating. Do you have any thoughts on that? Do you feel like a lot of society is dying early just in return for eating junk food and being addicted to standard American diet?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, I think, whether she lives to 120 or not, at 82, walking around with giant, guns like that. And she works on a farm all day. I mean, from my understanding, that is the type of person you want to be at 82, because if you're going to make it to 100 or 120, whatever it might be, you ain't going to get there if you're all frail and beat up at 80. I mean, that to me is really, that's who inspires me. I know some people take inspiration in what I do, but that's the type of person that inspires me, to see someone in their 80s still. And she's learning another language. I've never yet had a chance to talk with Maggie, but I've seen a few of her interviews and I'm a big fan of hers. If you see her, let her know that. I think having her in your documentary, and when you reveal that, I know that's going to be part of the reveal there, that's going to blow people away. It really is. I mean, it's such a great example, and it shows the long-term, viability, at least for someone on carnivore, because she's been doing it, 60 some years, since she was a kid, and now she's 82. And there ain't a lot of 82-year-olds that are as impressive as what she looks like. I mean, that's really an amazing photo. And I'm sure seeing her in action is quite impressive.
Quick interruption. Did you know we have an incredible membership site for you called healinghumanity.life, We have a special offer going on right now. Learn more at the link in the description. We have courses, we have expert Q&As with the good doctors. We even have a Healing Humanity Heroes Zoom call once a week, highlighting real heroes that will inspire you on a path to healing. The community is wonderful, recipes, all sorts of great stuff to help you on a path to healing. Learn more at the link in the description below. I can't wait to share that in the documentary because she's carrying around like 4 5-gallon buckets of feed. She's jumping over fences in her 80s, but more so than the physical part of it, her attitude, her demeanor, her energy was that of like a teenager. Adam and I couldn't keep up with her when we were filming her. So it was really incredible. Also sad at the same time because she's telling us like, hey, all of my loved ones, they're gone. They passed, and like kids she went to school with that she knew for years, they all passed in their 60s, and there's kind of a lonely part of it that came along with it. But yeah, she's
she used to hang out with younger people. That's what you do, just hang out with the youngins. Yeah.
Sadly, we lost our friend Jeff DeProsperous, who is a huge fan of yours. I have a picture here. This was Jeff on your podcast. Jeff credited carnivore diet with extending his life. He was given 3 months to live, and he thrived for 30 months. And this was Jeff's words. He attributed that to carnivore, the extra couple of years he got with his family. I just wanted to thank you, Dr. Baker, on behalf of Jeff, because you, Dr. Chafee, some of these other doctors, he said to me over and over again, these guys are my doctors. Like, you were giving him hope. You in particular, because Jeff was a big athlete himself. So he's given 3 months to live. He thrived for 30 months. So I just wanted to let you know that you were a huge inspiration to Jeff. And my next question was, if you were diagnosed with a serious cancer or stage 4 cancer, what would you do, or what advice would you give to someone if you had a loved one that was diagnosed with stage 4 cancer?
Well, I mean, obviously that's a tough situation to be in. And obviously you want to maximize the quality of your life for as long as you may have. Maybe you beat it. Maybe you get through it. Maybe you don't. But I think you want to, do the things that are important to you, spend time with your family, loved ones, do those things that you can, maximize your quality of life. I mean, get good sleep, get in the sunshine, eat a good, healthy diet, exercise, be strong, keep a positive mindset. I think those are things you can do. And I think as far as various other treatments, I mean, I'm not here to say that you should completely ignore conventional advice, but I mean, I think you should ask serious questions and say, what is the likely outcome of this treatment option? Is it going to cure my disease? If it is going to extend my life, how long will it be? What will be the trade-offs with that? Is my quality of life going to go down? Because the reality is, if you've got an aggressive late stage cancer, you probably are not going to live that much longer. I don't care what your diet is. But again, as Jeff shows, he had an extra 27 months beyond what he was supposed to have with his family. Hopefully a lot of that was quality time. You think about it, I get an extra 2 years, 2.5 years with my family. So, I mean, maximize the quality of life. And I would think in terms of quality of life, not in terms of quantity. And so you want to maximize that quality of life and do what you can to do that. And I think that comes down to the same things we should be all doing anyway, eating well, sleeping well, spending time with the ones we love, let them know that, and keep a positive and open mind.
You mentioned being an athlete, and that's another argument I get that I didn't have on here. I wanted to ask you about quickly because you got more experience in this area than I think anyone. I have a lot of people that say, I could never do carnivore. I'm an athlete. I need carbohydrates. You've been an athlete before you were carnivore. You're still an athlete after carnivore. How has it been for you?
Just to be fair, I discovered carnivore when I was just before I turned 50. So I was an old athlete at that time. And as an old athlete, it is incredibly beneficial because I don't have the joint pain. I don't have the aches. My recovery is easier. Not having joint pain and aches and better recovery means I can train frequently and more intensely. So as an older athlete, I'm kicking ass. I mean, I don't want to brag too much, but I have set world records a number of times now as a carnivore, and particularly in rowing. I don't know. I mean, I can perform at a high level compared to, even guys 20, 30 years younger than me in many ways. We now have examples all across the world, across all sorts of sports, of carnivore athletes that are just killing it. I mean, there's a guy who's just in the Paris Olympics, 400-meter hurdler named CJ Allen. He's basically carnivore, and he's run one of the fastest 400-meter hurdle times of all time as a carnivore. In fact, he barely qualified to try out for the U.S. national team before he was carnivore. He went carnivore. Not only did he make the team, but he went to the Olympics and had one of the best performances of all time in that event. We've got, another guy, Ryan Fulton from Michigan State, who's now on the U.S. decathlon team. Again, full carnivore. I mean, he put up a 10 300-meter dash as a decathlete, which is amazing. I mean, that's smoking fast. It's not 100-meter Olympic champion speed, but it is right close to that. But as a decathlete who has to also shot put and discus and high jump and run the 1,500 meters, that's a phenomenal time. And so, like I said, he's on there. We get Seth Gross, who's on the U.S. wrestling team, another full carnivore, had injuries, went carnivore, made his injuries not hurt anymore, was able to kick butt on that. We've got all kinds of professional rugby players and triathletes and ultra marathon runners doing carnivore. So clearly, and I think the caveat here is you must allow yourself to fully adapt to it, and as an athlete, it might take you 6 months to get fully adapted to it. But once you get there, then it's just a matter of managing, enough fuel and glucose, and glucose comes from eating enough, you have enough protein in your body. You might have to increase your protein a fair bit more than the normal person on carnivore just trying to heal a disease. But certainly you can do that. The work of guys like Phil Prims out of, he's up in Pennsylvania. I can't remember. I'm trying to Grove State College, showing that our assumptions around low carb diets and glycogen are being shown to be not necessarily true. I mean, this is based on the work that came out in 1967 in Finland or Norway, I think, Norway or Finland. And it has never been challenged because they assumed it's all about glycogen restoration, glycogen full. And it's turning out that glycogen in the muscles really doesn't predict performance. It's more blood glucose, and blood glucose, you see guys wearing CGMs now, they're on low carb diets and they're in the middle of a grueling event and their blood glucose is 200-300 because they can produce that glucose that they need to perform at those high levels. So I think we're seeing, just like we are seeing with health, with the assumptions around health. Oh, well, you don't eat red meat, it's going to give you all these problems, it's going to make you fat and diabetic. But wait a minute, we're giving it to diabetics and it's reversing their diabetes. And not only is it making their blood glucose normalize, it's making their diabetic retinopathy go the other way. It's making their nephropathy go the other way. It's making their blood pressure normalize. And so you can't just say like the criticism is, oh, well, low carb diets just mask the symptoms of diabetes. Well, tell me why this guy who had, blood vessel issues in his eyes has reversed that. Same thing with the kidneys and so on and so forth. So it's not just masking, it's actually reversing disease. And so we're seeing the same sort of things around some of the athletic stuff. Now, again, a lot of people, you have to have some faith. You have to be willing to give it enough time. You have to try it, and a lot of people, if money's on the line, they're in the middle of the season, they're like, I can't change it right now, because initially there might be a decrease in performance, but once you sort of adapt, I think many people find that their performance is just as good and often better.